So track number 4 is My Wife. Now, this is the only song out of the 9 that wasn't intended for the Lifehouse story that I spoke about earlier. This was just a song John Entwistle wrote that he had left over from his first solo album, which came out the same year as Who's Next. Just to provide a bit of context there. So what's your feelings on My Wife?
Yeah, I really like this one as well. There's very little on this album that I'm not that keen on, but this one I really do enjoy. It's a nice song to listen to again. Very easy to listen to. Things sticking out in your mind with regards to like whatever's going on with the band. I really like it. Lyrically, I like it as well. It's got some nice lyrics in it, I think. I know I'm repeating myself here, but again, I really like the vocals as well. Yeah, good tune. I like this one a lot.
So as a married man, can you relate to this song?
Yeah, I suppose so. Yeah, of course I can. Yeah. No, yeah, lyrically, it's just really nice. It's telling a story, telling a nice story, and I just enjoy sort of everything about it. Really, I couldn't really critique anything about the song. Everything in it, I enjoy quite a lot. Yeah, there's not much else for me to sound this one really. I just really like it. Whenever it starts, I'm just like, yes, tune. And the whole way through it plays, I enjoy the whole thing. Yeah, good song. I really like it. What's your thoughts on it?
I like the way it comes straight in from Love Ain't for Keeping. It hasn't got that gap. That's really effective. But if there is one criticism I've got of this album, it's on this song. And it's a very minor criticism. But when John Entwistle's vocals first come in, they kind of sound a bit muddy and they don't quite cut through enough compared to the rest of the album.
Right. Okay.
But as the song goes on, the vocals seem to become like more clearer sounding. So I don't know if that's a deliberate choice or if that's like some kind of production mistake. And like I said, this is like a minor thing. And if there was one thing I would criticize about this album, it's that.
I think that would be a deliberate choice because the rest of this album, production wise, for me, is top notch. So I would think that is a deliberate choice because I find it very hard to believe that they would get everything else so right and then make one such huge mistake and leave it on the record. I'm pretty sure when, listening to this thing going back when you mix in, someone would have picked up on that if it was a mistake.
But what's interesting is that on a solo album John Entwistle brought out 2 years later, he actually did My Wife on it because I don't think he was happy with the way the Who's Next version had been produced.
Oh, right. No, that would make sense because why would you record it again?
Yeah, I mean, I'm guessing. This is a guess, but maybe Glyn Johns sort of mixed it without the band being there. Maybe they let him get on with it, and then it came back, and maybe he realised after a while he wasn't happy. I don't know, but his solo version's not too dissimilar to this, really, although it hasn't got Keith's drums on it, and Keith's drumming on this is brilliant.
Yeah.
But I would recommend the live version of My Wife. It's faster, and it hasn't got that horn part in the middle. They kind of go off and improvise in the middle of it when they do it live. But yeah, the live album is pretty bloody good. So that's another recommendation to you.
I was gonna say I'll have to give that one a listen now.
Yeah, but yeah. So we were talking about how he's almost like a lead guitarist on bass, but this is the one song, and it's weird considering he wrote this song, but he's quite subdued on this song, bass wise. He's not doing anything sort of like he is throughout the rest of the album, really, which I find quite strange. Again, considering he wrote the song, you think he'd be like flying around all over the shop, but
yeah,
no,
mate,
he's playing like a normal bass player on this song.
More than likely a conscious choice. Just wants the song to do the talking, maybe so much not the bass. I suppose if it's not his song, maybe he wants to be a bit more busy on the bass. Whereas if he's wrote this song, maybe he just wants to be a bit more laid back and subdued and let the actual song do the talking, specifically through the lyrics as well, I think, rather than via the bass guitar, so maybe that's
Yeah,
got something to do with it.
it's a good way of looking at it. But, excuse me. But you're right. Yeah, the lyrics are great. It's typical John Entwistle, really, like that tongue in cheek sort of humor. But yeah, great song.
Yeah,
Like the horn parts in it, played by John Entwistle. Yeah, I love Keith's drums. Love the way the song sort of drives along. Yeah, like I said, very different to the live version, but yeah, in its own right, yeah,
yeah.
really good
I'll have to
song.
give that live version a listen.
Yeah, there's a
Squeal
few
sent me
out
a
there.
link.
There's a few out there. I'll send you a particular version. I'm thinking of the there's a box set called 30 Years of Maximum R&B that come out in '94. There's a live version, I think from 1976. That's probably the one I'll send you. But
Yeah, cool.
that's for another day. So track 5 is The Song Is Over. Yeah, so this was meant to be how Lifehouse was going to end. This was going to be the last song. And you can kind of hear it as a big epic final song of this grand story. Um, it's definitely an epic song. Yeah, what are your thoughts on this one?
I love this one. So much so that we rehearsed it the other night. I nearly started singing it to you when I was standing next to you, just because I had it in my head. This is probably my second favourite so far after the opening track.
Hmm.
Yeah, love the piano intro. Pete Townsend singing, I'm presuming. Doesn't sound like Roger Daltrey.
Yeah, so Pete sings the "This song is over"
Yeah,
those bits, and Roger Daltrey sings the "I'll sing my
yeah,
song to the white." Yeah,
yeah. It's fucking
again, a
great.
really nice contrast between the two voices that just works so well.
Yeah, I love this. It's great. That piano intro is really nice. Sounds fantastic. Yeah, like the vocals when they come in, and then when the drums come in later on, and Roger starts doing his vocal part. Yeah, it's just fantastic. I just absolutely love it. It's such a great track, and of course, then you have and then it breaks down again and goes back to the piano again and the vocals for the next verse. It just sounds fantastic. I really, really like it. I'm not saying a lot about it, but I can't say enough good things about it. Basically, it's my second favorite so far, without a doubt. I think it's beautiful is the word to use. It sounds really good.
Yeah, I wouldn't argue with that. I was slightly worried that I would just spend this whole chat going, "This is awesome. This song's awesome. This bit's awesome." You kind of, I think with this album, you kind of have to just say from the off, every member of this band is on top form throughout the
Yeah,
whole album.
yeah, yeah.
I don't know if you've seen. Sorry.
I was just gonna say it's just really nice. It's just a really nice song,
Yeah.
and I never ever get bored of listening to it. Whenever it comes on, I'm always just like, oh yes, this one. It's just a
Yeah.
tune. It's just great.
Yeah. So this one's got Nicky Hopkins on piano, like I think he played with everyone in the 60s and 70s, session musician. But the Who, probably not surprised to hear they never did this live.
Oh, really, that's a shame. That's a real shame. If I went to see him, I'd be glad if they didn't play this.
I was thinking about this earlier. I mean, you're probably not as familiar with the Who's live sound as I am, but I kind of don't think this would suit them live in some ways. And I think, I don't know if they would have thought this, but I think it's one of those songs that it's almost perfect. You should leave it as it is and don't try and recreate it in any way.
Some things are best left as they are, I suppose.
Yeah, I think so. But there's also the point that they never actually, well, while Keith Moon was alive, they never actually had any extra musicians on stage when they played live. It was just the four of them. They never got any kind of keyboard player to play live. They probably should have done, to be fair, considering the amount of keyboards that are in a lot of their stuff in the 70s, especially Quadrophenia, the album after this. But yeah, they just, things like Barbara O'Reilly and Won't Get Fooled Again, they just relied on backing tapes, and Keith Moon had to wear headphones, kind of like the ones I'm wearing, to hear the backing track. And that's how they did it. So yeah, they couldn't. I guess they could have tried backing tracks on this song, but how many songs do you want to play with backing tracks during a gig? Do you know what I mean?
Well, yeah.
But yeah, brilliant vocals from Pete and Roger.
Both of them, yeah.
I really like the reverb, especially on Pete's vocals. I think that happens a lot throughout the album, but it just sounds so good. This is such a well produced album. Despite what I said about My Wife, it's such a well produced album.
Yeah, I gotta say, I only looked today to see who the producer was, and then to find out it was the band. So yeah, they did a very good job on producing this. That has to be said.
But up to this point, so the first album was produced by a guy called Shel Talmy, who produced the Kinks, and they fell out with him pretty quickly. And then after that, one of their managers, Kit Lambert, who didn't have any experience of producing, he produced their next 3 albums after that. But I think he was in a bit of a bad way at this point. He was getting into like hard drugs and that kind of thing. And him and Pete Townsend were kind of, their relationship was becoming slightly fractured. So yeah, they went to Glyn Johns for this album, and it's just, yeah, the production has just taken a whole new level when it comes to the Who sound with this album compared to what came before. But it's just such a nice album to listen to because it just sounds so good. As in, like, it sounds so good.
It really does, yeah. No, yeah, great song. I love that.
I don't know if you've seen the film Tommy.
No.
There's a bit at the end. So Roger Daltrey plays Tommy, and right at the end, he walks up this. He's at the top of this mountain basically, and he's singing, and then like the sun comes up. It's like it's a really epic moment. But I can imagine him on top of a mountain singing this song.
Yeah,
it's got that feel to it. And I like the way the song, that it starts very nice with the piano, and that, again, the synthesizer just there to add a bit of texture. Just sounds really nice. But I like the way the song sort of gradually gets faster, but in a very subtle way. Like doesn't sound like it's going to fall apart at any minute, but it's just a nice way the song builds up. And yeah, brilliant song. And at the end, there's a refrain from a song called "Pure and Easy," which was recorded for this album and was kind of the main song of the Lifehouse story, but was left off the album by Glyn Johns because he essentially had the final say on this album's track listing. That the band just left it to him to do. Have you heard the song "Pure and Easy" at all?
I don't think I have. No.
Oh, okay. Another one of my personal favourites, but yeah, it didn't get released for a few years. And I do sometimes wonder if this album would be better if it had "Pure and Easy" on it, but that's one for another day.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
But yeah, this is such a good song.
Yeah, it's great.
You can't say enough good things about this song.
Yeah, I love it. It's really, really good.
And then we got another piano intro on the next song, "Getting in Tune." So yeah, what are you feeling about this song?
Pretty much exactly the way as I feel about the previous song. Really, really like it. These piano-led tunes on this album are some of my favourites. Which is probably not something you'd expect to come out of the mouth of a death metal fan, but yeah, fantastic. I really, really like it. The vocals are fantastic. I mean, I know I'm repeating myself, but there's a reason I keep saying it, because they are really good. The lyrics as well, just the way that Roger sings over those opening piano chords and throughout all the verses, just sounds really, really nice. I mean, some of the vocals are much more gentle in their delivery as the song goes on. It's just, again, it's really, really nice and easy to listen to. Nice to listen to. Easy on the ears, you know. I just love it. It's really, really good. It's just it's exactly like the song is over. It's just really nice and easy to listen to. Really enjoy the piano work across the entire record, to be fair. Yeah, it's just really nice. I love all the lyrics. Roger's voice is great. Just a great tune. I've got nothing really more to add than that. I really enjoy it. And it's one of my favourites on the entire album.
Yeah, this is another one. Nicky Hopkins is playing the piano. So it's these two songs. Yeah, this song and "The Song Is Over." And also Barbara O'Reilly has a guy called Dave Arbus who plays the violin. Otherwise, it's the band who play everything else.
Yeah.
Yeah, brilliant vocals, and that contrast between sort of gentle and also aggressive, but it's not jarring in any way.
Again, when Pete Townsend comes in with some of the vocals as well, sounds really good.
Yeah,
like you say, when it ramps it up a little bit, yeah, I really like that. It's another nice touch.
Yeah, it kind of goes from ballad to epic to just full out rock and roll. And yeah, again, it's such a good song. And there's not much more you can say than that.
Yeah, there's the only other thing I would add is there's a couple of little guitar licks that Pete plays. I think during the second verse that just sound really nice. Very simple. It's only a few notes, but it gets the job done. It's very effective. It's another great piece of not songwriting, but sort of a texture to the song, I suppose I should say.
Yeah,
Yeah, I really like that. Yeah, a nice little touch. I mean, you know, if you listen to a lot of music, then sometimes it's one of those things that you might not even hear it when you first listen to the song, and then about 10 times into the song, it's like, I've never picked up on that before. And it's just that nice little bit of texture in that for some reason you haven't picked up on. But when you do hear it, it's like, yeah, that works really well during the song, definitely.
yeah. And I think it's the third verse where it's Roger and Pete singing in harmony, and that just sounds so good.
Yeah, the harmonized vocals, yeah, that sound excellent.
I'd say this is probably a difficult song to sing from the point of view that you'd have to make sure you're always in tune singing this song. You couldn't sing it and be slightly out of tune.
No, because you will get the piss taken out of you by the press.
Yeah. So this is another one I don't think, well, the Who have played it live because I've seen them play this live at Shepherd's Bush Empire in 1999. But I don't think they played it live very often before that. But by the time I saw them, they did have a keyboard player, and they were back to being a 4-piece plus keyboards after various lineups with horn sections and God knows what else. But yeah, it was so good hearing this live. And
The
they
thing is,
played.
when you've got sorry, Karen.
I was just going to say, and they played Pure and Easy at the same gig, which was another one they hardly ever played live. So that was a good gig to go to hear some really sort of deep cuts, if you like.
Yeah.
Yeah, what were you going to say? Sorry.
I was just going to say it must be tough when you've got such a big discography to literally only choose whatever the length of the set list is, an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours worth of songs. You know, when you've got such a massive discography, obviously you can't play everything. And when you're a big band, there's some songs that you have to play. You know, for example, if you're Alice Cooper, you've got to play Schools Out. You know, he might be sick of playing Schools Out, but it's one of those things that you have to do. And if you've got a big discography like the Who have, then you can't play everything. You know, and you can't please everyone. But
What's interesting about
it is.
Yeah, what's interesting about that is, so during the 70s especially, they kind of became a greatest hits band. And I think a lot of that is because, like we were saying, they didn't have a keyboard player. They couldn't play a lot of this stuff live. So they just reverted to the stuff that was kind of easy to play, like the hits, if you like. And they weren't that ambitious for the last sort of few years of their career when it came to playing live anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was only after Keith died that they sort of started bringing out these songs they hadn't really played live before because they could now because they had extra musicians and that kind of thing. But just one funny story about this song. So they originally attempted to record this album at the record plant in New York, and as I said earlier, Kit Lambert, one of their managers, was going through a bit of a thing with hard drugs and that kind of stuff. Not in a good way, but he was there producing the sessions. So this is before they went to, I think it's Olympic Studios with Glyn Johns. But they were recording this song, and as they were doing the full out rock and roll sort of jam at the end, apparently Kit Lambert wrote on a piece of paper, "Don't stop playing," and went into the room where they were playing and was holding up this sign, and the whole band like trying to look at what he's written. And by the time they're trying to read it, they've all stopped playing because it's just become so distracting. Yeah. I thought it was worth sharing. But yeah, no, another great song.
Yeah, I love that one. It's really, really good.
Yeah. And yeah, now we're on to track 7, Going Mobile. Lead vocals by Pete Townsend on this one. So what do you want to say about this one?
Yeah, again, I really enjoy this one. Love the guitar intro. The notes that he's picking out on the acoustic just sound really, really nice. Like the vocals as well. The lyrics are really, really good. Throughout the entire song, there's one particular line in it that I really like. I can't remember off the top of my head right now, but yeah, it's a great tune to listen along to. John Entwistle's bass playing with Keith Moon's drums sound great as well. They're quite busy. They're not just sticking to something simple. And yeah, the vocals from Pete Townsend throughout that entire song I really, really like. Very British as well, mentioning the toast and tea. I really like that about it. I like it when British bands are really British, because some British bands, they try to crack America and like sort of take on American mannerisms. So I like the fact that they kept it very British by mentioning toast and tea in the lyrics on this. Something about watch the police and the tax man miss me because I'm going mobile. That's it. I really like that lyric as well. Again, it's just a really, really good tune to listen to. The guitar parts great. Yeah, when John and Keith come in, it sounds really, really good. Yeah, another really enjoyable song to listen to. It's a very happy sounding song as well,
Yeah,
which I
that's
really
true.
like. Hey?
Yeah, that's true. Probably the happiest song on the album.
Yeah, it's really, really sounds very major, definitely. Yeah, great tune. I really enjoy it. All the lyrics, like I say, are really, really good. Definitely one of my favourites on the album, no doubt about it.
But going back to the Pete's guitar playing, I think it's worth saying that as an acoustic guitarist, he is phenomenal, really. And in some ways, that's probably where he really does sort of stand out as a lead guitarist, I think. Actually, even as a rhythm guitarist, to be fair, just a phenomenal acoustic guitarist.
Yeah, the work on that song in particular is really good. Really enjoy it. Great
And
song.
what's amazing, I think Glyn Johns makes the point in that Classic Albums documentary that Keith Moon is playing along to a bass and an acoustic guitar, and yet the energy of this song is just unbelievable, and that's all he's playing to. It's just crazy.
Yeah, he definitely wasn't one for putting himself in, that box. That's what I've got to do. It's always like, forget the box. I'm just going to do whatever I want to do. And it might sound like it's going all over the place, but he's always back in on time when he needs to be. And the fills are always just all over the shop and always interesting to listen to, I find.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, very unique drummer, has to be said.
I think Roger probably could have sung this and it would have sounded really good. And I know he's done it as part of his solo shows in the past, but I think it's right. Pete sung it. It just works, I think.
Yeah, and it's quite a high vocal as well. So it's not an easy one to sing. I mean, I'm no singer, as you well know. I can do a little bit of singing, but it's not an easy vocal to sing. It's not low, of course. It's pretty high up. So it definitely demonstrates Pete's got a really good voice as well.
Yeah, and I think something about Love Ain't for Keeping that I wanted to mention but didn't is that it just shows that the Who could sing like angels, like with John Entwistle as well. When they did 3-part harmonies, they probably were a match for the Beach Boys in some ways, and even the Beatles.
Yeah, it's amazing when you get bands that can do that. Like you say, you mentioned the Beach Boys. I mean, I think that's always the go-to guys if you're going to talk. Oh, the Bee Gees as well. If you want to talk about amazing vocal harmonies, whether you like those bands' music or not, there's no denying that when it comes to vocal harmonizing, there's no one better than the Beach Boys or the Bee Gees. I mean, you probably make an argument even more so for the Bee Gees because some of those vocals were incredibly high and still sung those harmonies absolutely perfect in a three-way split, like you say. But yeah,
What
so
was it
it's good
about?
when you have bands that can do that. It gives nice texture into the songs as well.
Yeah, I'm just going to say, what is it about bands beginning with B and three-part harmonies?
Yeah, it does make you wonder, doesn't
Yeah, well, apart from the Who, obviously.
it?
But yeah, going mobile. I think I've always wanted to own a camper van. I'm hoping one day I'll be able to buy one, and I think when I do, I'm definitely going to put this song on and drive
Just
along
play
to
that
it.
on loop
Yeah,
for a
definitely.
3-hour journey.
Yeah, why not? And speaking of singing like angels, we come on to Behind Blue Eyes. Now before I get your thoughts on this was one of the few things I wrote in my notes. What else can you say about this song other than just marvel at it? I found it very hard to convey my thoughts because, again, it's just such a good song. But yeah, what are your thoughts on this
Well,
one?
this is something that I alluded to you at rehearsal last night. I'm going to say something now that's probably going to make you want to be physically sick. But I first became aware of this song, and I think you know what I'm going to
Oh
say,
no, I know what you're gonna say.
via Limp Bizkit. I knew of it. I knew it was a Who song, but I'd never heard it before.
Just
So
before you carry on, I just want to say what the second note I wrote was. Maybe we can just slag off the Limp Bizkit version.
so yeah, that's how I first became familiar with it.
I'm
And
ashamed of you. I'm ashamed of you.
well, I thought you'd say that, but I've got to be honest. Um, I
No.
still like the Limp Bizkit version up to the point where they start doing that horrible AI voice thing and it sounds like shit. But anyway, we're not here to talk about that. But yeah, that was my introduction to the song. Even though I knew of it, I never heard the track. And my mate's dad has got Who's Next on cassette from way back in the day, of course. And I think it must have been on like Kerrang TV or something because my mate used to watch Kerrang TV to death. And I think I mentioned it to my mate's dad one day, and he said to me, "Have you ever heard the original?" I was like, "No, I haven't." So he dug the cassette out, stuck it in the tape player, and then obviously rewound it or fast forward wherever it was to the correct place and listened to it. Then I only listened to it like the once or twice by then, so I didn't really take it in. So also didn't really take it in until I picked up the album on CD whenever it was a couple of years ago. It's really good. What else can you
Yeah.
say? The guitar stuff is really, really nice. The chords that are being used go really, really well together. Sound really nice. The picking part sounds superb. Really like the vocals. There's not too much more to add to what I've said already because, in terms of the song, it's quite simplistic. There's not loads and loads going on. Even though there's loads going on with what is happening, there's not too much else to talk about, I don't think. For me personally, anyway. It's just a really nice sounding song. The lyrics are really, really good. Again, vocals I really enjoy. Just a nice song to listen to.
I'll tell you what annoys me about the Limp Bizkit version, right? Now, yeah, I get what you're saying about the whole that robotic voice, whatever it says. I can't remember now.
Yeah, that's awful.
But it's the fact that they don't do the last third of the song, if you like. They completely skip that. But bloody, and I don't know if it is Fred Durst who wrote those lyrics, but they actually make up their own lyrics to it, which are just shit compared to the rest of it. And it's like, how dare you? What the fuck is that about? Are we allowed to swear on Mr. Boulder?
Oh, I've sworn before, yeah. So yeah, don't worry about it. We try not to swear too much, but sometimes it does come out.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't like it. The Limp Bizkit version, I mean.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, no, I still like the first part of it, but the second part of it is trash and can get in the bin. Yeah,
Yeah, I can go with that, I think. But yeah, obviously the original is just such a good song.
to be fair, it's not very often a cover outdoes the original. I can probably think of one example off the top of my head where I honestly think that the cover's better than the original. So,
What's that?
Johnny Cash's version of Nine Inch Nails, "Hurt," and Nine Inch Nails original is fantastic in its own right. But I think because Johnny was very ill at the time it was recorded, it just adds to it because I think he probably knew he was on his way out when that was made. Especially when you watch the video, he looks very ill, and he made the song his own. But the Nine Inch Nails version is still really good. But I can honestly say that's the one cover I think off the top of my head is actually better than the original version. And like I say, the Nine Inch Nails original is no slouch either.
And didn't Trent Reznor basically say as much that it feels like it's a Johnny Cash song now?
The one thing I remember Trent Reznor saying is winning a Grammy didn't mean anything to me, but Johnny Cash wanting to recover one of my songs meant everything to me. And I don't think you can argue with that.
No, definitely not. I think another good example of a cover that kind of surpasses the original is "All Along the Watchtower" by Hendrix.
Actually, yes, that's because I'm going to be honest here. Dylan don't really get what all the fuss is about, and I've heard the original, and Hendrix's version is way superior.
And with that one, Bob Dylan kind of says something similar that, basically like Hendrix could do any of his songs if he wanted to because of just how good that version was, and he himself started doing his live version more like the Hendrix version.
I mean, that's a compliment in itself, isn't it?
Yeah, but Limp Bizkit's version Behind Blue Eyes is definitely not better than Who's version.
No, I mean, like I say, I don't mind the Limp Bizkit version, but I would never say it's better than the Who's version. If I did, I would be lying my ass off.
I mean, I already felt we're talking
or
too
just
much
trying
about.
to really wind you up, of course.
No, of course not. I mean, I feel like we're talking about that version far too much at the moment, but I did put it in my notes as well. So
yeah,
but
no, yeah. Going back to the Who's, the
let's
original
go
song,
back to the Who's
I really
version.
like it. It's really nice.
Yeah,
easy to listen to. Quite simplistic with what's going on, but very effective. And that's always a case of a great band. If you just got pretty much a vocal and an acoustic guitar, and you can make it sound really good and very interesting, that's a sign of a great band and very good songwriters as well.
and again, those 3-part harmonies are just so effective.
Yeah, the
And
backing vocals as the song goes on sound fantastic, particularly in the second and third verses. They sound great.
and again, Roger goes from sounding vulnerable to sounding aggressive. Almost, you don't see the joins. It's not jarring in any way. It's just.
You're right, because at the start, the vocals are very gentle, and like I say, and then they're quite confrontational, I would almost say, towards the end.
Yeah.
Sounds fantastic. Really, really good.
And I don't think anything prepares you for that, for Keith Moon coming in on that song. It's just such a contrast to the rest of the song. But again, it just works perfectly.
Yeah,
But
great shit.
But yeah, you really don't expect it first time you hear that, I don't think.
Yeah, when I first heard the original version, the whole way through, it's like, wow, that's nothing like what I've heard already, of course, But yeah, good stuff. Really like it. Great tune.
And there's a great quote by an author called Dave Marsh. He's written a book about The Who. And he said about Behind Blue Eyes, this was the longest time Keith Moon was still in his entire life. And that brings us to the final song of the album. Another classic rock. What's the word? Classic, I guess.
It's a classic rock staple.
Staple, that's a good word, yeah. And that's Won't Get Fooled Again.
Yeah. This is, again, one of those songs, and it's weird with overplayed songs because there's some where I still enjoy the tunes, but if I hear them on the radio, I think, again, I don't ever need to hear this again. I'll give a quick little example. Guns N' Roses' Sweet Child of Mine. When I hear it on the radio, not interested. When I listen to the record in full, it's like, still love it. Same as we mentioned Nirvana earlier. When I listen to Nevermind and you sit the needle down at the start of side one and Smells Like Teen Spirit starts, it's like, yes. If you hear on the radio, like, yeah, not too fussed. But when you listen to the record, fantastic. Same with this one. This is one of those ones that for me, like, sort of say something like the Eagles Hotel California, just never ever bored of hearing it. It doesn't matter how many times I've heard this one, it doesn't ever get old. Great tune, epic tune, very, very big. One of the best vocal screams in the history of rock music. I mean, I don't need to tell you what part, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, the way the song builds up from the quiet-ish intro and everything builds up slowly. Great vocals from Roger again. Amazing lyrics throughout the entire song. Classic lines like, meet the new boss, same as the old boss. For me, one of the best lyrics in any rock song in history. And I think we can all relate to that as well. When it breaks down in the middle, and you've got the synthesizer part, obviously, yeah, the big scream that comes back in, a massive power chord that Pete Townsend hits. Keith Moon's drums all over the place with the fills. John's bass playing some fantastic stuff. I mean, I've waxed enough lyrical about this song already to tell you that I absolutely love it, and it just never ever gets old. A hard rock staple, a classic rock song that can come on classic rock radio whenever it likes, and it never outstays its welcome for me, like some songs do. Not this one. Huge song, epic, massive. A great way to finish a great album, I think. I mean, this record is bookended with big songs that everyone knows, ones that I'm just not bored of. If I'm going to pick between Baba O'Reilly and this one, I definitely am a bigger fan of this tune. Won't Get Fooled Again, just an absolutely superb way to end this song. And a massive song, great track, and yeah, never ever tire of listening to it.
Yeah, one good thing about listening to Who's Next is that you can listen to this song and you know it's going to be the full 8.5-minute version, and you're not surprised by the 3.5-minute edit that sometimes gets played on the radio.
Yeah.
You can be safe in the knowledge you're getting the full version.
Yeah, some songs just should not have the edited version played.
No, that's it. And again, it's one of those intros. It's the Lowry organ through a synthesizer, I think. And again, I don't think anything else sounded like this at the time, and I'm not sure anything to this day still sounds like it. And it's really iconic for that reason, really, as well as, the great performance from everyone involved in the song. And you can see why it is a classic rock staple, but I think it is those synthesizer sections that really do make it iconic and make these songs stand out, and this album, I guess, stand out from a lot of other stuff. And
yeah, fantastic.
And also, until that synthesizer section that's sort of 6.5 minutes in, the song just does not let up at all. It's just keeps going, and there's almost like there's no room to breathe while you're listening to it. It just
there's a
doesn't let
lot
up.
of energy there.
Yeah. And
I should imagine when you were recording this song, you just felt you're feeding off of everyone else's energy. And I kind of thinking that when you must be listening back to this, when you're mixing, you've got to be thinking to yourself, we've got a good song here. We've got a really, really good song here. It's just got so much about it.
Yeah, and it does not drag at all. It's 8.5 minutes, but it really does not drag at all.
Feels like it could be 5. It goes by that quickly.
Yeah. I watched one of those reaction videos on YouTube recently. I don't tend to watch those videos very often, but this one was by this vocal coach, and she's watching a live version of this song from
I know what you're talking about. That's the charismatic voice.
No, this one, I think she's called The Vocalist with a Y.
Right. Watch the charismatic voices one. That's good as well.
Okay, I'll check that out.
I'll send you the link.
Yeah. But there's a word she uses to describe it, and it's thrilling. And I think that is such a good word to describe this song. It really is thrilling, and like I said, this does not let up until that final synthesizer section towards the end, and then again Keith comes in with that drum solo. You get the the iconic scream, and then it starts up again, and meet the new boss, same as the old boss. As you said, it's just one of the great lyrics in music, I think.
Yeah, it's an iconic lyric, I'd argue.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's massive. It's really, really good.
Yeah, and you could probably imagine that this was a song that the Who would often end a lot of their sets with for years. They do encores and things like that, but this was normally like the main set. This was always the
Set
last song.
closer, yeah.
Whereas the last few years, it's been Barbara O'Reilly. Interestingly enough,
Oh,
they've been playing
really?
with they've been touring with an orchestra since about 2018, I think, 2019, and they started ending with Barbara O'Reilly, which used to be sort of earlier on, more towards the middle of their set. So when I first saw they were ending sets with Barbara O'Reilly, it felt weird to me. But going back to what I said earlier about it, it's such a joyous song, and yeah, it definitely works as a closing song.
Yeah. I don't think you could close this record with any other song, personally.
No, it's a great closing song.
It feels like a closing song.
Yeah, definitely.
Definitely.
It could be the quintessential Who song, but I think maybe that's for another day as well.
I was going to say, I'm sure we could have this. I was going to say arguing, not arguing. Discussion another day, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, great track.
Yeah. So, what's your overall thoughts on the album?
I really enjoy it. Like I say, it's only bargain for me, which is a tiny little bit on the filler side, but I still really enjoy that. I'll just take a look at the record now. Yeah, it's only bargain on me for me on side one. That's a little bit on the filler side, but like I say, I don't dislike that song at all. It's still all good. And for me, side two it's all killer. There's nothing bad there at all. I love everything on side B, to be honest. If I was going to give this album out of 10 score, it's going to be getting a 9, definitely. Only dropping that point slightly because of bargain. But again, I know I keep saying it. I don't dislike the song. It just doesn't grab me as much as some of the others. As far as the musical performances from everyone go, everyone's top of their game. Obviously, Keith's drums are batshit crazy like they always are, but that's part of the appeal. John Entwistle's bass playing, for me, doesn't get really talked about enough as far as great bass players go. Maybe just not in the circles I'm used to talking in. Maybe he is in other places, but I'm just not so much aware of that. The bass playing's fantastic. Yeah, the use of the guitar alongside the piano throughout the entire record is very effective. Like you mentioned earlier, the acoustic playing is really nice on this. Good guitar tone on the distorted guitar as well, and the trade-off vocals between Roger Daltrey and Pete Townsend are all good. I can't fault this record. I can't fault any of it, to be honest. I really enjoy it from start to finish. It's all good. That's what I've got to say about the Who's Next. Yeah, I really like it.
I think there's a case to be made that this could be one of, if not the best album of all time. I think it's got to be up there with one of the best albums of all time.
Could definitely make the argument for one of the best classic rock albums of the 1970s. I think it's easily got to be in that conversation.
It's definitely that, if nothing else. I think it's the Who's best album. I think Quadrophenia. I've always thought Quadrophenia, which was the follow-up album, I've always thought that was my personal favorite. But I think Who's Next is the best album the Who have ever done, and I do wonder sometimes if maybe Who's Next is actually my personal favorite. It's definitely that or Quadrophenia, but yeah, and apart from that slight thing about John's vocals in My Wife and the way that's a production thing, not his actual vocals, because his vocals are great, as are the vocals throughout the whole album, and everything about it is great. So I've lost my train of thought. What was I going to say? Let me just
This is
refer to
what
my notes
happens when you're
quickly.
on camera.
Yeah, that's it. That's it.
Sometimes your train of thought does just go, and you can't think what you was going to bloody say.
That's what I was going to say. So, other than that, very, very minor criticism, I think for me, this is a 10 out of 10 album.
I was about to say, if I'm scoring this a 9, I can't imagine you're scoring it anything other than a 10.
Yeah, this is definitely a 10 out of 10 album. Yeah, I'm thinking of other albums. I'm thinking of Dark Side of the Moon. There's probably a lot of other albums I'm not thinking of at the moment, but I think this probably is one of the best albums of all time. It's sublime. As we said before, the production on it is just second to none.
Very good.
Everything about it, the melodies, every song is fantastic. That's why it's impossible to pick a favorite song on this album. Although I definitely will be up for ranking them with you at some point.
Yeah, see, now I would definitely be up for that. I think you'd find that much fucking harder than I'm going to do it. Because you're such a massive fan.
I think it probably would be impossible, but I'm up for giving it a go. I've enjoyed talking about it with you now, so I'm sure I'll enjoy talking about it with you again.
Yeah, I'm up for doing that further down the line if you want to do it. That's cool with me.
It's a date.
Cool. Excellent.